Hi guys, I'm EVM and welcome to what is, I guess, the third in a mini-series of videos about used electric vehicle prices and what you can get in the various price brackets. The first video was between £5,000 and £10,000, the second £10,000 and £15,000. This one's a bit broader price-wise. I'm going to start at 15 but go all the way up to £30,000. This for me is a little bit more difficult because once you get into the late teens and certainly the 20s, you compete against brand new EVs, so a used one has to be that much better. So, what do you think's on the market for between £15,000 and £30,000? Going to start off with a little bit of a gem first, and for £15,500 you can get a Mercedes-Benz B250e. 5 years old, it's done 12,000 miles, it's a premium version, and I think that is a cracker. Great build quality, really comfortable ride. It'll do about 90-95 miles in the real world. And, well, it's a Mercedes, what's more to say? There is, however, one glaring omission which makes this, well, A, cheaper, and B, one that I personally couldn't own because, well, it's purely a car that would only work in a house that has more than one car. The glaring omission that Mercedes haven't put even as an option on this car, so any B250e, is the fact that you cannot rapid charge them. There is no rapid charge option or port. It is purely a car that can only charge effectively at the same speed you can do at home, 3 or 4 hours basically. So that's a clear disadvantage, but it does have the effect of knocking the price down. So if you're thinking, well, I have 2 or even 3 cars, so range is irrelevant to me. This will be perfect for commuting or a city car, something like that. I think this is one worth looking at. For 15.5 grand, you're getting a Mercedes B-Class that'll cost you pennies to run. So yeah, 15.5 grand, 5 years old, 12,000 miles. I think that's one that's worth looking at if you can fit into the no rapid charging option. Moving on, I'm going to take bigger price jumps in this one because obviously we've got a broader price range. Again, this is one that only really fits certain people. It wouldn't fit a family, which is why I've never had one. It's a car that I have mentioned before in the previous videos, but it's a newer, bigger battery version of that, and it is the BMW i3 again. This is the 94R, as they call it. This one has the range extender, which I think is key and makes this really make sense. Again, it's a small boot, only 4 seats, so it's not a family car, unfortunately. But there's not much faster off the line in BMW terms, let alone in EV terms. It's got about 170 brake horsepower, carbon fibre chassis, a very solid interior, although I think it's kind of minimalistic sort of thing. You'll either like it or you'll hate it, I think. The range extender will give you another, let's say, 50 miles of range. It's just a little generator. It's not a petrol engine attached to the wheels. So this is, as I said before in the previous videos, this is the best sort of hybrid if you have to go for one. Big battery, small engine. So you get about 105 miles of real world range and then another kind of 55-ish from the generator when you need it. This effectively means that you can never run out of electricity, as it were, because you could just keep topping up the little small, I think it's 9-litre petrol tank that the i3 has when it's got the range extender. So you wouldn't do it because it wouldn't make sense to, but you can always get home, which is what made the range extender a cracking idea. Right, so let's climb a bit now. We're up to £19,000 and we finally do end up with a family electric vehicle. It is a 2018 40 kWh Nissan Leaf. This is the N-Connector, which is basically the mid-range model, and it's got ProPilot, which is effectively Nissan's version of autonomous driving, or semi-autonomous driving anyway. This one's done 36,500 miles. It's 2 years old and just shy of 19 grand. So I don't think it's the best car in the world. It's just effectively a facelifted version of what I had. But I think for 19 grand, for a 2-year-old version of these, about 140-ish miles of real world range, I think it's worth it at that one. I don't mind a car that's got issues as long as the price makes it good value. It does of course mean you're going to have to deal with Nissan dealers potentially, although this is a private seller. I haven't had the greatest experience with Nissan dealerships, if I'm perfectly honest. But in terms of the Leaf, the 24 and the 30 kilowatt hour anyway, I had no issues at all with the car itself. The reliability, the build quality, no problems at all. It was a brilliant car. In fact, I built this YouTube channel around it. Staying at the £19,000 price bracket now, this is one for those that want a familiar face on the driveway rather than something like a Leaf which kind of says, I'm electric. At least the previous one did anyway. It's a familiar car. It will do about 120 miles of real world range. And as I said, for just under 19 grand, you can get a Volkswagen e-Golf. This is the car, the same battery size, that's just stopped being produced now. The ID3 is replacing it. So you can't get the e-Golf new anymore unless there's a few stragglers at dealers hanging around. But yeah, it's a Golf. You know, it's going to be solid interior in terms of build quality. Typically, you have no issues with them. Not the most exciting car to look at, granted, but the interior I think is fine. I have no problems with it. It's a Golf. We're all familiar with Golfs. This is a Golf. It's an electric one. 2.5 years old, less than 10,000 miles. Again, tons of warranty left on the battery, and relatively well spec'd as well. So if you like your Golfs, I think this is definitely one worth looking at. And if I'm honest, I would probably go for that any day of the week, really, over the Nissan Leaf that I just showed you before. Kind of means that showing you the Leaf was pointless if I was recommending this over that one. But yeah, I thought it was worth showing them both. But yeah, this is a Golf that's electric. That's a Nissan Leaf. I suppose that's the main difference between the Leaf and this. That will hold its value better, so ultimately will become a cheaper car. Either way, I'll leave it up to you, I guess. For the same price, you're basically getting a Golf or a Nissan Leaf. I know what I'd go for, because I've just told you. Okay, now to stop it being such a big price jump, I've found one that's just over £20,000. This is a car which I don't really like the look of, but every owner says it's brilliant, and it is also one of the most efficient EVs out there. It's a Hyundai Ioniq. Oh, sorry, Hyundai Ioniq. Ioniq. I always get it wrong. It's one of these. This is the Premium SE, so it's a top spec, I believe, and it's only 18-month old. It's done 40,000 miles, so it's had a fair few miles piled on it. £20,300, give or take. But yeah, as I said, this is one of the most efficient ones out there, especially on motorway speeds and things like that. It gets pretty much what they say it should get. There's one thing that a lot of cars are guilty of, is that they say that you get this amount of miles, but you actually in the real world only get this amount. Considering it's only got about the same size battery as the Nissan Leaf, we're talking like half a kilowatt extra of usable battery capacity. It does about 120 miles in the real world as opposed to maybe 100 for a new 30 kilowatt hour Nissan Leaf. So you're getting an extra 20 miles of range, 20% extra range for pretty much the same battery size. That's how efficient this car is compared to other ones in its class. One thing that makes this stand out over other EVs in this sort of age and price bracket and class is that it can charge, I think it's about 70 kilowatts if you find a charger that will match it. I think they say up to 100, but ultimately, from what I understand, you get about 70 kilowatts out of it as opposed to maybe 40 out of a Nissan Leaf, something like that. So you can charge a lot quicker, which means it's a lot more usable on a long trip. You're not spending as much time charging. It's just, I don't know, it's kind of boring to look at, bland. It's got a very strange front end for me, and the interior is not exactly great. The Golf interior is far better, for example. But in terms of people that own this, they're all saying it's brilliant. Is this? I can't fault it. So it's definitely one that's worth a look at. And if you have the choice of the Leaf, the e-Golf, or that, in same sort of price, similar sort of range, it's quite a difficult choice, really. Right, next, something that's so new that there's very few on the road. This one's 6 months old, so it must be one of the first. It's still under £21,000, and for that you can get an MG ZS EV. 140 miles of real world range. It's the size of an e-Niro, so it's a good family, good practical car. You get a 7-year warranty. It got 5-star on the Euro NCAP rating, which a lot of people don't know because the petrol version only got 3. And if you just wanted a basic, good family electric vehicle, this one, for me, on the new market, is just miles ahead in terms of value than a lot of other ones. To get a car of this size, as in like a family SUV, full electric family SUV, you're looking above £30,000. So this is clearly aimed at the value market, and it's just so far removed from the others. You cannot ignore it for its price. The video for this is in my channel, and I have to say, it's not the best interior in the world, but it's a lot better than a lot of people think, and I couldn't really fault it for the price you're paying. This one is obviously a little bit cheaper because it's 6 months old. I'm not sure why somebody is selling it after 6 months. It's only done 700 miles. It's a private seller, so I don't know. It happens. Who cares? It's tons of warranty left on the whole car. I can't really fault it, again, for less than £21,000. It's a Billy bargain, I have to say. That's a Billy bargain. Significant jump now, because if I'm honest, between 21 and 26 in this case, they're just newer versions of what I've already shown you. You know, lots of Leafs, newer versions, better spec versions, more e-Golfs, Ioniqs, i3s, blah, 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 blah. But I thought this was worthy of a mention. It's another BMW i3. This one, however, for 26, well, less than 26 and a half, it's the current battery size version. It comes with, I think it's 42 kilowatt hour battery. No range extender. They've stopped doing that at BMW now, which I can understand why. The range has got big enough to not need it in their eyes. But I thought it was a really good option. It gives people that peace of mind, even though most people that bought one hardly use the range extender. You'll get about 145 miles of real world range, and this is the very model, in fact, that we took round the North Coast 500 when we were challenged to do the North Coast 500 in under 24 hours, and we did it in under 16 hours. I think we did about 1,000 miles non-stop in one go. Well, not non-stop, but driving, charging, driving, charging, driving, charging. So yeah, 1,000 miles in that, and the car didn't miss a beat, didn't have any worries about battery temperature, didn't complain at all. It just plugged in and charged, and we carried on. Still has the kind of fidgety handling when you push it a bit on the twisty roads, but it's safe, don't get me wrong, but it just, you know, I think the i3S just has it. Wider tyres, slightly lower stance, but the i3S is a lot more expensive. So for 26 and nearly 26 and a half, you're getting the current BMW i3, which I think is about right, because the new ones are still too expensive for me. I believe they're also going to do one more bigger battery version as well, before they just stop doing the car completely. Now, on to the last car. For me, is the most interesting of the lot, because it feels like you're getting something a little bit more special. It's a 2014, so it's 6 years old, Tesla Model S. It's done 129,000 miles. No autopilot on that one, but I can't say I'm that bothered. I believe this one does come with free supercharging, and it's the 85 kilowatt hour battery. Now, Tesla, even now, let alone in 2014, were not exactly known for their reliability. However, I think if you've got a bit of a plan, this could work out really well. Let's imagine you get this for £26,500, you know, after haggling, if you like. What I would do is say, right, I'm going to spend £28,000 on this car. So you've got 26.5 for the car and 1,500 as a just-in-case fund. There's a bit of a buffer there. The major components, the battery and the drivetrain, all still have 2 years of warranty left with Tesla. You're getting 8-year infinite mile warranty on a Tesla Model S. So for the next 2 years, you don't have to worry about the major stuff. The other things like the door handles, sensors, various other things that are known to go on Model S's, that's what I would keep the money aside for. So rather than think this is a Tesla Model S for 26,500, I would say you're getting a spot-on Tesla Model S for up to 28. I don't think that's bad at all. 28 grand for effectively a fully operational, nothing wrong with it Tesla Model S that's still got 2 years of warranty left on the battery and drivetrain. I have had a look on Tesla's website to see what the cheapest Model S is on their used scheme. And at the moment, it's one of these. It's a 2015 Model S with less than 50,000 miles on it. But this is going for 36,800. So it's another nearly 9 grand over the car I've just shown you. Yeah, it's got a few extra things like autopilot and the smart air suspension. But personally, I think I'd save that 8 or 9 grand and get the older one. Because as I said, if the major stuff is under warranty and you've got money set aside for any other repairs, unless you're unlucky, I think that'd be a cracker. I've kept an eye on the used Tesla Model S website, the actual official ones, and I have seen a Model S go on there for £30,000. and that's with a Tesla used warranty, which for that one was 2 years on the whole car, or 50,000 miles I think it was. So you know, that's something worth keeping an eye on as well. If you're thinking, I can't really afford the 40 grand for the Model 3, 30 though, with a full warranty, that's not bad at all. So they're getting there. The Tesla Model S's are getting into that, I won't say cheap, but more affordable price bracket. The Model 3, I guess, is kind of drive it down a bit. If you can buy a brand new Model 3 for, what, 39-ish, just over £39,000 with fees, who's going to buy a Model S for the same price that's 4 years old, 3 years old even? There are quite a few independent EV specialists and Tesla specialists popping up all over the place, so you wouldn't have to go to Tesla for everything. You can use one of those, and they should be a lot cheaper. Are some of these too expensive for you? And you think, well, yeah, I like the car, I'd like the Golf for example, but it's just too much more expensive than a petrol equivalent. Remember though, I say this time and time again, the car you get now that's more expensive to buy, you will get a lot of that back at the end. EVs depreciate far, far, far less than a petrol car at the moment, and I imagine that will stay for quite some time. So yeah, the initial purchase price is higher, but you'll get most, if not all of that back come resale time. Right, well that's pretty much it. Please do subscribe, it really does help the channel. If you want any merch such as these mugs here, high quality stuff guys, then have a look at lovelymerch.com/EVM. I'll put the link in the description below. A lot of these, or most of the merch on there, the t-shirts and that, I'll be ending soon, while stocks last sort of thing, and maybe introducing some different sort of merchandise. So I thought I'd just give it another plug, because I can tell everybody's just waiting, banging at the door to get some. As far as used cars go, please do let me know in the comments if you're looking into one. New, used. Were you looking at a new one and now you're looking at a used one? Does that Tesla idea I've had, where you kind of spend a bit more initially and sort it all out, does that appeal to you? Will that work? Right, thank you for watching as usual. I'll see you soon.